Okay, so Getachew, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Chelo, and welcome. I think for some of us who are in this meeting, what I'm going to share with you is what you already have gone through over the last 1 year, and I will try to make it, and also there is a time limitation, as brief as possible, but also as informative as possible. As Cello indicated in his email last week, this information is available in the OneDrive as well as Microsoft Teams page of the project, and also so those are, I think, the work plans also. It's in the work plans and the annual reports. They are all available there, so you are encouraged to refer to them, because there you will find a lot of detailed information on this model. So today I will talk on, actually myself and Dan, I'll talk on UAIM BCE and CIP delivery. I will share the the work that has been accomplished over the last 1 year. The deliverables of year 1 work, which started sometime in summer 2019 and completed spring of 2020, has the definition of the as-is process, and then drafting the to-be process and finalizing it. And then after the modules have been finalized, and there was a time where we, collect all the information and prepare a report, and then post it in our SharePoint site or OneDrive site, where the information and artifacts and processes, challenges, metrics, all this information is posted for our use. So these basically, as I said, there are business processes, there are metrics and artifacts. And today I will cover 2 of the 4 topic areas that we've been doing for the last 1 year. The first one is a business case evaluation and prioritization of the CIP projects. And the second one is the capital project delivery. The BCE, or the business case evaluation, of the CIP planning and prioritization topic, and this capital improvement program delivery topic work together, so that the 2 models are portions of one big CIP delivery model. And this is a collapsed form of that big CIP delivery model. It has 8 stages, or you could say 9 stages, because the procure services stage is somewhat flexible. It can come anytime, and it can come more than once. And that's why it's placed independent of the main train here. So let me talk about a little bit about how the two topics came together and be part of the one bigger CIP planning business process model. The 2 processes have a lot in common. First one is the CIP delivery follows the CIP planning and the BCE process. So one comes after the other. And then some form of planning work still happens during the CIP delivery phase of a project. So the planning, even though the main planning work has been completed, there is always some form of planning during the execution phase. So if we create some kind of consistency between the 2 process topics, then it will make our lives easier, and the users will not be confused. Therefore, it made a lot of sense to develop the business process model as one model, even though the first 2 stages, stage 0 and stage 1, are prepared by the BCE team, and the CIP delivery is prepared by Team 2100 from the UK. So this decision to bring the 2 topics together brought the 2 teams work together, and we have to agree on certain things, like, for example, the process layout, swim lane names, terminology, all those type of things, where we agreed on. And actually, we developed a dictionary to support the understanding and interpretation of certain words that we use during this the development of the process model. The CIP planning process, which is the stage 0 and stage 1, And then the rest of CIP delivery is from stage 2 all the way to the closure project are basically the two that made up the whole process. The CIP delivery business process basically includes from stage 1, as I say, from stage 2 all the way to stage 7, with the procure service stage also coming somewhere in between stage 2 and stage 4. Each stage has a sub-process, and if you see a plus sign here, it means that that stage has a sub-process. And if you are working on a model, when you click it, it takes you to the sub-process that basically gives you the activities and their the various activities and their interrelation to accomplish that particular stage. The reason why the procurement stage is taken out of the linear sequence or process is because it can happen anytime between stage 2 and stage 4, and also it can happen more than once, because there is a procurement for the PDE, for example, and there is a procurement for the PDE, and also there is a procurement for CM services. So there is a lot of procurements that may happen even for one project, and for that reason, that was taken out of this sequence, and it's shown here at the top. And stage gates are also added in this process to ensure that before we go from one stage to the other stage, certain deliverables are delivered, and that the prior stage is complete and gets approval from the approving authority before we go to the next stage. So each stage has also input to start kick that particular stage, and also an output, which basically is the deliverable of that particular stage. And as you can see here, there are stage reviews, and for each stage there are listed stage reviews that basically the reviewing body checks whether those are accomplished or not before giving approval to go to the next stage. So this is in general the overview of the stages in the CIP business process. So I'll go to the next one. This is stage 0 and stage 1, which is the CIP planning, and BCE, which is the first 2 stages of the whole CIP delivery process. So this includes all the activities from need identification to approval of the CIP. And that CIP in some instances is a 10-year CIP, and in other instances it is a 5-year CIP depending on the utilities policy. So the first stage, as you can see here, is stage 0, which is identifying needs, and the second stage is this one, which is approved CIP needs. So when you see this business process model, you see a lot of things. This is a typical business process model done using the BPMN. It has various business or functional units within the organization. It has and it has various processes and some sub-processes which are listed here. And there's a lot of information. So I'll go quickly over this one because this is very important, because this is one of the things that we accomplished as part of developing this business process model. So each stage has a boundary, which is noted by a circle here, which is an event that basically kickstarts a stage. And then there is one other circle here, which basically is another event, which makes sure that that stage is completed, or signifies that that stage is completed. So this process model has stages and stage gates, and also it provides information like who is responsible to do what and when. There are artifacts such as documents, databases, which are input to a process, and also outputs like reports or deliverables. All those are called artifacts. So you see a lot of artifacts in here, like the ones in a rectangular box here with white background. Those are all artifacts. They are either input to a process or an output from a process. And also it shows which activities are done when. And also there are certain activities that have to be done in sequence, or there are a lot of activities that can be done in parallel. So all this information are also included in this BPM model. And also this model includes a lot of BPMN elements. Some of them I can mention. One is the swim lanes. You can see here there is one swim lane here, another swim lane here, another swim lane here. This swim lane signifies the responsible business unit or functional unit in an organization for the activities that are shown along that swim lane. So these are swim lanes. For example, this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 swim lanes. Event is, as I said, this is something that happens at a given time. It could be a kickoff or start of a process or a completion of a process. So you can see here there is one here, there is another one here, there is also another one here. So there are events in this business process model. The other one is gateways. Gateways are alternate paths or merge points. For example, there is an alternate path here, an alternate path here. This is a merge point. So there are all these type of connectors that are used to help define the model. The other one is these lines, arrow lines that cross swim lanes that indicates connecting various activities or various decision points. And also, as I said earlier, there are a lot of data and objects that are used in this process. There is here, for example, a P6 a project scheduling tool in here. Some use P6, some use others, or Maximo, or those type of things are also called objects. So basically, this is just an overview of what a BPM model it looks like and its various components. Let's go over some of the simulations. This one is this is a utility. This is you can say a collapsed form of this process. This is the expanded form. This is a collapsed form. So you have a utility. When it's expanded, the utility also is expanded to mean various departments, to indicate to show various departments. But when it's collapsed, the utility, which is called the pool, has does all these various stages. So this is one swim lane. The other one is this one. So as I said, this business process has 5 swim lanes. The first one is senior or executive management, which is in charge of basically approving the various decision. Whenever there is a decision that has to be made, then the process takes us to this group, to this swim lane, and this swim lane approves. This is the higher level approval. There are minor approvals here and there that can be done by various units here, but the main approvals are done by this one. So the next swim lane is a finance. The finance has its own responsibilities. One of them is, like, for example, setting physical targets for the 10-year or 5-year CIP. For each year, how much money can be spent. That is provided by the finance department. The next swim lane is operations. Operations are involved, for example, in this business process, in the definition of needs for the CIP, and also finally, when the CIP is prepared, they also review it to make sure that their needs are properly reflected or not. The next one is a procurement. Procurement, we don't have a lot of activity during the CIP planning phase and BCE phase, but because of the consistency that we need to have, this swim lane is added, because when you go to stage 2 to 7, you will see a lot of procurement being involved here. But in this stage 0 and stage 1, procurement doesn't have a lot of responsibilities. The next one is the planning and execution swim lane. This lane includes representatives from various functional units of the organization. Various organizations give various names for that, but the team agreed that this may be a good representative of that. And most of the work during CIP planning is done by this team. As you can see, there is a lot of work that's done by this team. So basically, this is for the CIP planning and BCE process. The model in general looks like this. Any question on this one before I proceed to the next one? Okay, if there is no question, I'll go to the next one, which is, then I'll go over each stage of brief description of each stage of the 7 stages of the CIP delivery process. And the first stage is, or stage 0 here, is a is the identify needs stage. And here I have also, for the sake of your easy, you can see what swim lane, the name of each swim lane. And as you can see it here, there are, it says annual CIP update. So there must be a reason for any process to start. In this case, the identify needs process starts because of a number of reasons. Like in DC Water, we started every March. It's an annual process. Every March, the CIP process kicks off. I believe in Metro Vancouver, they start this process in January. So once you have that, then one of the input we get is the fiscal target from the finance. We get that annual fiscal target from finance. That's one of the inputs. And then we train staff. That's also another one. That is very important for each, because the CIP team may, from year to year, they may vary. We may have new people, or some of the processes and the policies may change. For that reason, training staff who are going to work on the CIP development are trained. And then these are various sources of the CIP. Operations this is a needs. They will submit their needs to the CIP planning group here, and also the facility plans, asset management plans, condition assessments. All those are input. They provide input to the new project need. And then as part of this process also, we will update schedules, cost, and scope of already approved projects. Because of a number of reasons, projects which are already approved also will have to be reevaluated and revised, because they need, there is additional scope, additional schedule, or additional budget request. It has to be also considered during this process. So at the end of this needs identification, there is a consolidation of all the needs that are submitted. Like in DC Water, one of the artifacts that we used is a DC Water. For example, in DC Water, there is a CIP capital validation form, and there is a capitalization policy. So based on that policy, not every need qualifies to be a capital project. Some are, they may not have a lot of enough justification for a capital project, so we have to do more investigation, more study. Some are that they don't qualify to be a capital project by the capitalization policy, so they have to be repaired or maintained by the operation and maintenance crew. The remaining will be documented in a spreadsheet, and they are submitted as proposed CIP projects. So those are the outputs of the identified needs process or sub-process, or that phase. So here we'll have proposed CIP projects, and also revised, updated schedule, cost, and scope of already approved project. That will have a big spreadsheet with all this data, and this ends the stage 1, or the stage 0 of the process. So there is, as I said, there are inputs to the stage, and there is an output to the stage. And before we go to the next one, there is a checklist that we check whether this project has met or this stage has satisfied its requirements before it goes to stage 1. And this is stage 1. So once we have a proposed CIP, which is new need plus modification to already approved projects, the approval of the CIP phase or stage kicks in. So there is here, so that's the kicker for this stage. And then once we have that, then the next step is we go straight to prioritize CIP projects, and then we come back to this to complete this process. So this, whenever you see a plus sign here, like there is a sub-process. Now we'll go to that sub-process. See here, prioritize CIP projects is sub-process. There is a spending plan, the draft CIP project that came from the previous stage. They are inputs to the prioritize CIP projects process or sub-process in this case. The prioritize CIP project sub-process has a chain of activities. It is a process by itself, but we call it a sub-process. So before there is a lot of inputs to this one, now the BCE kicks in. So we will ask if a business case evaluation is required or not. And this is based on, there is a process that we go through before we, but before that there is a criteria here. Based on that criteria, if a BCE is required, then we go to this, conduct the BCE sub-process. If the BCE is not required, then we go to the next step. So you see here a plus sign, which means there is a sub-process. If you are working on the model, if you click it, it takes you to the conduct BCE sub-process. So the conduct BCE sub-process looks like this. So the input, one of the inputs is the project definition, there's business case evaluation, guidance manual, governance process, and the BCE tool. So there is a criteria. If it satisfies the criteria, then we go to review of needs statement and identify stakeholders. This by itself is also a sub-process. And develop alternatives, conduct financial and non-financial analysis, and finally determine preferred alternative. So this is the sub-process for the BCE. As I said here, there is 2 pluses for the 2 activities. That means there is a process to complete this activity, and there is another process to complete this activity. So this is activity A, and this is it takes you to A to B. Let's go to that one. This is A. A is review needs statement, and B is conduct financial and non-financial analysis. So the reason why we need to do review needs statement is because there was already a needs statement that qualified that need to be a CIP project, but now we are going into details. So we need to define the opportunity statement or the problem statement. We need to go into the details of the need statement. What are we trying to achieve? And then we'll establish the BCE team, train the BCE team on the BCE process. We will identify stakeholders. So that completes the needs identification and stakeholder, the needs statement and stakeholder identification. The financial and non-financial analysis also has its own process. This is just one way of doing this business case evaluation process. So if you go to the report has all the information you need, and you can familiarize yourself. So once we are done with the conduct BCE, then the solution may vary from what we thought in the first place. But now we are, after considering the financial, non-financial factors and other factors, the project definition may need to be revised. So that is a necessary step. And once we have the updated project definition, then we go to the scoring. Now we have this is on for this line is the sequences for projects with that need BCE to be done, and the other ones are those which don't need BCE. So at this stage also, if the project's already in construction phase, it doesn't need to come to this one because the funding has already been allocated. So if a project is not in construction, it comes this way, and then we'll score the CIP, the projects based on the CIP prioritization criteria. And then this leads to prioritize within constraints, which means there are resource constraints, there are dependent projects, there are permitting, there is fiscal targets, there are a lot of things which varies from utility to utility. So the prioritization within constraints is a very important step, and this is very iterative process because we need to do it until we have satisfied all those constraints. And then we'll have a list of proposed new and current CIP projects will be the deliverable of this particular step. Now we have finalized the prioritized CIP projects. Then the result of that, which is list of reprioritized CIP projects based on constraints, then it goes through review by operation departments and finance departments, and there is a lot of back and forth between the executive management, our finance department, and us, which is a planning group, until we reconcile all the differences, because there is, whatever spending plan we may have, that has to match with the affordability of the ratepayers. And so this is what basically this stage process of stage one provides. Like in any stage, it has its own input, output, and there is a checklist here that the approving agency checks first before they approve to go to the next stage. So before I go to the CIP delivery part of the process, do you have any question on the planning, prioritization, and the BCE process, which is stage 0 and stage 1?
Hey, Getachew, this is Dan. I just wanted to mention I've got a hard stop at 10:30, so just want to make sure we transition to year 2, like maybe about 10 after 10. So
okay. All right, I'll do that. All right, if there isn't any question, then I go to the CIP delivery part of the presentation. So the adapted CIP plan is input, as you can see it here, to the stage 2, which is delivery strategy stage. So the planning and execution team here develops a draft optimization plan for the implementation of the CIP. And that plan gets reviewed by various functional units of the organization. And after going through the process, then we'll have an approved optimized plan. Here, the procurement group will get engaged a lot, because they will have to consider the delivery method also, and other factors that they need to consider. And once we have that, we have the approved optimized plan. This is the purpose of this particular stage, is developing an approved optimized plan and the funds that are required for its execution. And then at the end of this stage, there is always a checklist. There is a deliverable, which is an approved delivery plan. And that basically, if all the work that has been done has checked, then we go to the next stage, which is stage 3. This one is just what do you call the concept design, or preliminary engineering design, or those type of things that we do. That's done. And once that's done, this is a stage before the detailed design phase. Most of the work is done by the planning and execution team. Procurement has a role, operations has a role, and also finance has a role in terms of approving and agreeing with the plan. And then finally, the senior management will sign off on the delivery proposal before we go to the next stage. And the next stage is stage 4, which is detailed design, and this is done by the consultant or internally, whatever mechanism we have. But this is done by the planning and execution team. Operations are also always engaged, because they are the owners of the assets. They need to agree with and review all the documents that are being produced, detailed designs that are being produced, and finally, the senior management always gets to approve whatever is produced from this stage. And this goes to also now the construction phase, the commissioning phase, and then the handover phase. And here we have operations role increases, and also planning and execution. This team also continues to have a bigger role. And that is stage 5, and stage 6 is beginning the initial services. And here also operations start to operate the delivery, and they will identify and notify defects, and those defects will be corrected by the planning and execution team here. And once that is corrected, then operations will issue defect certification, and then this stage will be completed. And finally, procurement and the planning and the execution team will work together to close out this project. So basically, this This information, I know that this is a lot of information within a very short period of time, but I think the intent of this is just to give you an introduction or a very high-level overview of the CIP delivery process. But for more details, I encourage you to read the Year 1 final report, which is available in OneDrive and MS Teams, and also the models are available in both the OneDrive and then an MS Teams page as the link, not the link, but the file route is provided here for your use. This concludes my presentation. I know that it's a lot of information, and I apologize for running like crazy here. But if you have any question now or in the future, you are welcome to ask me, Chelo, or Dan, or others, or Kathleen if she's here. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Getachew. And Dan Ott from Kansas City Water is next. He'll talk about the things we want to do in year 2. Dan, take it away.
All right, thanks, Cello. Yeah, I'm with KC Water. I'm the project management section head here, and I was involved in year 1 and have the opportunity now to be involved in year 2. And Getachew did a great job of really summarizing pretty quickly where we've been with year 1 and presenting the detailed process models that were developed out of that process for the BCE CIP planning plus the CIP delivery. So now I get the job of trying to answer the question, where do we go from here? And no matter if you're just getting started this year or if you've been involved from the beginning, we're all in this together, okay? Especially if you're just getting started. I know it's a lot of information, but just hang in there and keep after it. We're not quite as far ahead of you as you might think. So as you start getting into it, hopefully, that feeling may go away and you'll feel good about what we're doing here. So with that, I'll get started. I also want to introduce, I've got a couple other people from our team here. Scott Parker is our asset manager. So he's actually going to be focusing on the CIP planning aspect of it. That's a big component of his work. And then Zach Monroe is our project scheduler that does project controls. So he and I are focused a little more on the project delivery side, but we're really working all together as a group to go into this year 2, and we're pretty excited about it. So with that, I'm going to share my screen and I just want to show the year 2 project plan. Some of you maybe have already read this in detail, maybe have it memorized, but I'll tell you, I'll just say I just looked at it and I'm glad because it was really helpful. So it's a great document. But I will tell you there are multiple activities going on in year 2. So I want to get us focused in on what this group is going to be doing, looking at CIP planning and or CIP delivery process improvements. So right here is just the title page, and you can see right from the start there's a track 1 and there's a track 2. This group actually falls within track 2, and within the work plan we're looking at these improvement initiatives. So we're trying to identify some opportunities within our utilities to use these tools to make tangible improvements. So that's where the meat is, and Cello sent out a link to this work plan and really directed us to look at pages 5 through 8. So I just want to scroll down to page 5 right now. And it really states it really well right here at the bottom of page 5. It says, in year 1, our focus was on developing a set of business processes on a higher, more generic level that would apply kind of across the industry. So that's what you saw Getachew present. And that was the outcome of year 1. Now the goal is for year two to develop some case studies and apply those processes, those general processes, and try and figure out how do we actually implement that within our specific contexts within our utilities, because each of our utilities is unique, right? So, that was the discussion that we came out of it. Here in Kansas City, we're from Missouri, and so we were like, hey, this is the show me state. So it's like we need to produce something out of this. It's like all these process models, awesome. They're very cool, but we want to take them and figure out how do we actually implement them within our utilities. And that was the general consensus of the group. And so that was really the genesis of how we got here to year two. So super excited to be getting started. We actually here started a little bit on our own, but this is really helpful for us to get refocused on actually moving forward. And that's really what this group is all about, is we're going to be each working on our own initiatives that we identify. So that's one of the goals, is to take a look at these business process models from year one, take a look at that year one document, and identify some opportunities within each of those processes that you want to focus on. In our case, we're looking at the whole thing from start to finish, CIP planning all the way to through CIP delivery. And, I'll just admit, we got started, we've started digging into it, and we might have bit off a little more than we can chew. So we're going to have to go back and maybe get a little more focused on what exactly are we going to do and accomplish as part of this year too. But that's part of what this is all about. So other thing I wanted to highlight is within each topic that we've selected, each of us from each of our utilities is going to form an improvement initiative team. Okay. And you're going to examine the to-be processes that were developed from year one, like I talked about, those business processes, and then identify and develop a scope of what you want to accomplish within your utility in year two, using these processes, or even just building your own processes off of these models, and what you hope to accomplish. Because the goal for this whole effort through UAIM is to capture case studies. And so I was talking with Scott Parker, who I'm working with on this, and we're thinking about it in terms of, okay, we're going to be doing some work within our utility to implement these things, but we also want to be able to tell a story. So we want to be able to tell a story about what we've done this year, and then be able to share that with the rest of the world, rest of the utilities that are involved here, as well as other utilities who might pick up the documentation. So that's really it. And the other thing I wanted to point out in this document, there's a lot of good information. There's also lots of information about the other tracks and the other initiatives that are going on. So don't get bogged down or distracted by that if you're not working on those things. But on page 12, the bottom of page 12 is really some great stuff on how to develop a scope for whatever improvement initiative you decide to tackle. So this is really where we're at, is I think getting refocused and looking at pages 12 through 24 and using that as an outline for us to figure out a path forward for what we're doing. So that's really all I wanted to share. Getachew and I are, we're like I said, we're each one of the utilities participating in this. I see this as, each utility is going to be kind of working on their own thing. And then these meetings are really going to be opportunities for us to come back together and encourage one another, share where we're at and how we're doing, and make sure, that we're able to make some progress. I don't know about you guys, but we got a lot of other things going on, and it can be hard sometimes to make some progress. And so I really see this project, this opportunity as a chance, for us to collaborate together, to share ideas, and then also encourage each other on our specific efforts to make improvements. So that's kind of the gist of it. I'm going to wrap up with a homework assignment that Cello and Getachew and I talked about, and then we'll have a chance for question and answer, and hopefully Cello can capture these homework assignments and get them sent out for us. But he already sent some of these out. Review the year one report, get familiar with those UAIM, BPMN higher level models, those templates, and start to think about what areas within your utility would you want to focus on for this year two effort. Then go into this year two work plan that I just shared and read pages 4 through 8, focused on track 2 improvement initiatives. And then go to pages 12 through 24, look at that scope overview. Getachew mentioned the BPMN dictionary. I think Cello's going to talk about that and send that out. Also be good to get familiar with that. And then finally, once you've kind of gotten through all that stuff, let's identify 1 or 2, either CIP planning or CIP delivery, or both if you're ambitious. At least one goal, and if you want to do more than one, hey, go for it. But let's at least identify one goal to achieve within your utility that you want to implement in your organization. And then let's try and get that kind of captured as a group, and then that'll help define where we're going for year 2. And if you're trying to figure out what you want to work on, look for those pain points. Where are those pain points within those BPMN models, and find something that can bring some value to your organization. So that's really all I had, and I'll turn it back to Cello to kind of help facilitate our question and answer and help us wrap up.
Thank you, both Getachew and Dan. And I sent out in the chat line the link to the year 2 work plan, to year 1 report, and also Dan mentioned something called the dictionary. And as we develop these different business process models, and everybody is going to be describing their own processes, and the purpose is really that all the work that you would do would be immediately useful to your organization, not for the sake of the project, but for the sake of something that you want to do anyway. But overall, we'd like to make sure that these business process models that are developing kind of jive with each other. So in order to do that, we should use the same words to describe the same things. So for example, when we have swim lanes, somebody could think that, right, engineering department, or just engineering, or somebody could say, for an artifact, a plan, a strategic plan, or master plan, but for what? Or a computer system. These are the elements of the model, whether it is a computerized maintenance management system, or they write CMMS in that swim lane, or they write Maximo, or they write SAS. If we have consistent names, then we can eventually connect all these models into an overall model that we could ask questions. Well, what are all the business processes that our maintenance management system supports? So for the details on that, you can always ping me, but the goal would be with the dictionary to when you add a swim lane in your model, look it up if there's already one with that name that adequately describes what you want, and use it. If you're creating something that's not there yet, you just add an entry. So at this point, I'll stop. We have a few more minutes for questions and answers, and I want to open it up. We're looking for a brave person to ask that first question.
Cello, I've got a clarifying question. This is Jeff. when we talk about, I think as Dan rightly noted, the need for real life case studies, what are we going to do to make show evidence of this helps us to show that this works? Are you looking for us to dig up an example of something we've already completed or a new idea that we're just beginning to work on?
But both are fine. Both are fine. What we'd like is to have content that the process of producing content provides value to your agency, and the actual as you work on it, but if you already have something that you can share, that's wonderful. In year one, we were working, for example, on the topic. One of the topics was developing asset management plans. So people posted their own asset management plans. They posted templates for how to develop an asset management plan. In the risk topic, they posted their risk matrices, in their condition assessment methods, and things like that. So all of that is, all these artifacts, whether it's something you've already done or something that you're working on, utilities have found to be extremely useful. So it's a long-winded answer to your question that yes, if you have something you already done and posted, others will benefit. And then when you have something new, that will also be useful to others as well.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Jeff, this is Scott Parker from Casey Water. I think one thing I'd add to that too is, at least in our case, sort of what Dan mentioned, but this is the first year that the models actually have been built. And so our thinking was, let's take a model, test it, see how it compares to our process and how effective it is or is not. And we use that to iteratively improve the model. So that's sort of how we are looking at it. We're taking an old process. We've been doing a CIP for time eternal, right? Now we have something to judge it against, or at least to conceptualize it against that might be considered best practice or something like best practice. So now let's just see if it works. And then what ways do we live up to that model? What ways do we not? And then it's up to whoever the audience is to determine which one is more effective for their circumstance.
Thanks, Scott. That's helpful.
Other questions?
Hey, Cello, this is Dan again. I'll just kind of throw another easy question out there, or just ask for a request of, can you post a list of the utilities? Well, I think you've already got that list, but just give us that list of who the utilities are and the contacts for this particular group, so everybody's got that. And maybe we want to create a new spreadsheet with a column that says improvement initiative identified, just so that folks have a place to drop their ideas or what they're planning to do.
Yes, I have, you're correct. I do have the a spreadsheet. I could share it now, and it shows that there are 28 people who have expressed interest in participating in these CIP business case combined topic. And what I would propose is, it's a great idea. I will include it in in OneDrive, and also connect it to Microsoft Teams, so that we can sort of track of who's doing what on what part, and facilitate kind of conversation between peers to peers. It's a homework assignment for me, but I may ping you and others for if you have any ideas of how to do this well or better, or just send me an email. It's a good idea. Other questions? So I will also say that there are BP modeling, business process modeling guidelines that are posted. If you're not familiar where to find them, I don't want to send another link now, but just ping me, let me know that you would like to get access to the BP modeling guidelines. They're posted all out there already, and I'll send you a link. It takes a little while. We have hundreds of files from previous 3 years of work, so it's a little bit of a trip to try to find where information is. We'll try to make it as easy as possible, and not just try to overwhelm people in the beginning with where the stuff is. So just a few more minutes left, and I want to see if there are any other questions. Okay, so I will send soon. If there are no other questions, I'm going to stop the recording. I think that this stopped the recording.